Alright, you guys, this video is about trusting our feelings and our intuition, unavailable men, and just going through life with a new set of pointers. I am working with my therapist. I actually got a therapist. It's the first time I ever got a therapist for myself, except for, well, in the last 10 years. I had hired a therapist a few times when I was struggling in my marriage, and I would just like go once or twice. And then I went to see a therapist when I quit taking Vicodin, just to figure out what was wrong with me, you know, and I went just a couple times. But this time I'm actually working on just myself, and she's really good. She's really good because after all these coaches I've hired, you know, I didn't really make any progress, but with this one, I've had 2 sessions with her, and I feel so much more like I've gone inside myself in a whole new way. And what she has pointed out to me is that I have needs shame and needs, I forgot the other word, but it has to do, I think everybody has it. You guys have it too, I think, but I don't want to project anything on you or tell you who you are, but I think everybody has it. It comes from, as children, if any needs that we had were dismissed or invalidated or not honored, and that happens all the time to kids, by our parents, maybe the teachers, maybe the people at church, usually our parents, that we just learn to suppress them. We learn to not have needs, and then we become unaware of what our needs really are. And being aware of needs and honoring them, you know, I realize that my feelings give me a lot of feedback, not just about what's happening in the moment with someone, especially with guys I'm talking about here. Not just, you know, what should I do with my life, with my work, but also how do I feel about this person. And I think intuition. This morning after I got done working out with my trainer and I was rolling out, I realized that a lot of my intuition would kick in even when I wasn't around someone. A feeling of anxiety would present, or a feeling of abandonment would present around a certain person I was kind of talking with, and I think that was my intuition. I really believe now there's a part of us, the animal part, or the spirit part, whatever you want to call it, that picks up on things that we don't naturally see. And I know this from physics. They've done work on particles, like a change in one particle would influence another particle on like the opposite side of the world. You guys who do the physics stuff might understand how this works. There are all these connections, right? And there's also the concept of not everything that's real can be seen with our eyes, like air. That's an easy one. There's air, there's oxygen, can't see it, but we need it to live, right? But there are also deeper things like love. You can't see love, and you can't see people's thoughts, but we have them. And also I think intuition. I think intuition is another thing that's real, that probably we can cultivate, but we've been taught to shut it down, you know? So I would like to give you some examples. And the reason I have the video this way, I decided to make this video outside, and I just think it films better in this position. So this is related. Now I'm going to speak specifically about romantic situations. And if men are listening to this, you can use this to see if you're friend-zoned or not. Ladies, you can see if the guy is a player or not. I invite you to see whether your relationship is for you or not. They're attractions of desperation and attractions of inspiration. And my relationships with men have been attractions of desperation. Now with desperation, I mean, there are very levels of it. I mean, the most superficial one is liking a guy who's not really emotionally available, and you just, you know, a little bit unavailable too. The guy actually beats you or cheats on you or is an alcoholic, and you're just very distraught. So there are levels of it, and I wouldn't say I'm in the worst level, but I have been attracted to emotionally unavailable men. And what happens, I feel their unavailability. I feel it in my body. And instead of saying, this is not for me, my body's telling me this is not good for me. My body's telling me I'm distraught. This person's causing me distress. This person, and me wanting this person is causing me distress. This person's unavailable. So what do? These were my strategies. How can I get you to love me? Like with my ex-husband's case. And this is just the last 3 years of my marriage. The first 22 years, I didn't really give a shit. So I want to be very clear. But when I start letting myself need him, when I start letting myself need someone unavailable, that's when all the clues come in my body. So this clinging or trying to be okay with. So these feelings of distress come up in my body, and this is what I do. I either react by trying to get this person to like me or chasing them, like a little kid being attached to a parent figure. Okay? Like a trauma bond maybe, but it's like a childlike behavior. Don't leave me, you know. And the other strategy I used was trying to push away my feelings or trying to release myself from these feelings. How can I deal with this pain? How can I deal with this anxiety? Never thinking that I should let this person go, but how can I be okay with this? How can I deal with this feeling? It's like horrible. And I didn't turn to drugs or alcohol or other men or anything like that. I was just really just trying to like deal with these feelings. But the feelings were telling me something. The feelings were telling me this person's no good for me. This person's no good for me. I sensed their unavailability. My body picked up on it, but my mind, because I didn't know I could trust my body and my feelings, I was going through some kind of thing of like, I should be okay with this, you know, invalidating my feelings, not trusting my feelings, and it led me down more pain. It led me down more pain. There is no, you know, there is no grace or goodness in suffering, you guys. I don't believe that God wants us to suffer. We're supposed to suffer. The suffering tells me there's something wrong. And the suffering means I gotta change course. I have to do something different. It's giving me feedback. It's giving me feedback, and I ignored the feedback. Some of that comes from having, you know, just how I was raised, or I guess you could call it a codependency streak. I have a little bit of that. Or not trusting my feelings to tell me that someone wasn't right for me. I automatically went into chasing or trying to be okay with, instead of saying, you know, this isn't for me. It's hard, you guys, though, if that person who's causing you pain is someone you're married to. Because I get there's a part of us that wants to be like, I'm not ready to give up. Marriage is forever. I'm committed, you know? And then there's also the part of our finances are intermingled, our living situation is intermingled, we have kids together, can I afford to leave, you know? I'm used to this person in my life. But here's the thing. a person worthy of living with us is gonna work on things too. And I'm a person that takes accountability and likes to work on things, okay? So for me, if I'm in distress and someone's causing me distress, it's because they're not right for me. Now, there are other people who are, self-righteous and everything is your fault, and they might have a different path to take. They might have to change their habits and who they are. In my case, what I need to work on, okay, and I don't know what you guys need to work on, or maybe nothing. You don't have to work on anything. But what I want to work on is trusting my inner voice and not being in relationships with people who deprive me of their emotional availability. I feel that. And it's interesting what I thought about today when I go back to all the feelings I had about these, a couple of these guys that blew me off, even when I wasn't around them. Periodically during that time I'm interacting with them, very loosely interacting, like not a lot of texting and stuff, just loosely interacting while they're in my space. I periodically would get these feelings of like a whoosh, like abandonment. I felt a sudden abandonment. The other day when I was meditating on Sunday, I felt it too, this whoosh, abandoning energy. And I think that was my intuition, picking up on this guy I was loosely talking to for 3 weeks as not being there. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I had this very uncomfortable feeling in my body, so I made all these sounds to release it, like, to release it. But I didn't know it was my body giving me a signal. And I think that has to do with what I was saying earlier about the particles. Like, this is my theory now. I'm going to run it by my therapist later, but because I have access to her in between sessions by email. But not just a feeling that this person actually blew me off for the date, where I felt this whoosh energy. The first time I felt a whoosh, abandonment. The second time I felt this cold feeling go through my head, a cold feeling. I've never had this. Like, what is that? And I think it was my body picking up on something and telling me something that I need to listen to. This whoosh energy is telling me through some intuition. And so this is going to be my new strategy, you guys. If I get any kind of like abandonment feeling or anxiety feeling around someone, that's my signal. This person can't be in my life. Because those feelings are not meant to be dismissed or, worked through somatically so I can be okay with the situation. They're telling me that this person is not right for me. And interestingly enough, you guys know what I do, my bookkeeping job. Those guys never do that to me. And that's the interesting thing. People have so many judgments about women like me, but the pain never comes from those guys. Those guys show up. I enjoy them, and emotionally it's enriching. It's the guys it's the other guys. It's the people that I let into my personal life that cause me pain. It's not the clients that cause me pain. It's the people I let into my personal life that I try to be receptive to or try to be open to. So I think that my theory is, I have to be very choosy, and I am, about who I let into my life. Part of the reason I agreed to go on a date with this guy is because it was my mind. It wasn't my body. It was my mind saying, oh, someone asked me out. I should go. He seems so interested in me. I'm not interested in him. Maybe I'm too closed off. I got to be more receptive. I was forcing myself to be receptive to him. I'm like, I don't trust this guy. Well, I should be more trusting, Like, I'm not very interested in that guy. I should be more interested. I should be more open. And who's saying that? Those are those voices in your head, which I call, they're just thoughts, kind of programming. I think that comes from being a kid and being told, I should be more loving, I should be like Jesus, What would Jesus do? Have you guys ever heard that as a kid? What would Jesus do? I gotta be like Jesus. And, but Jesus naturally was loving. He didn't have to force it. And, anyway, that was coming from my head, and I need to work on that part with her a little bit because, see, I was raised, my mother was codependent on my dad. After my parents divorced, she never dated again. But she was constantly trying to get his approval and get his love. And I think I saw some of that, or maybe took some of that in, and that's a part too, because sometimes I feel around guys, like with this last guy, I noticed things come up. This was actually a good learning experience for me. It was a good learning experience because things came up, like I know he wanted to text me and I didn't want to, and I started feeling like I gotta comfort him, I should text him because he's lonely, I said, I'm sorry, I can't give you what you want. I started feeling all this empathy, and I've heard other women do that too. I read in a book that, sometimes women will have sex with a guy because they're like, it's easier to just say yes. Or have you ever given a guy your number? Like, it's easier to just say yes. That's not being embodied. That's being dissociated, or people-pleasing, or codependency traits. It can be just a little thing of a codependency. It can be big. I think these things all have ranges. So I'm just like really, I'm sharing with you guys some of my own personal journey, and I think it's so exciting to find a sense of safety within and honor my feelings about things without judging them, because the judging part is the unhealthy part. The wise adult self needs these feelings. My wise adult self, so like that's parts work. There's the protector, there's the playful part, there's the inner child, there's the wise adult. That's kind of parts work. And the inner child is just this little toddler that's just running around wanting things and reacting. Like, imagine being a little toddler. So if a guy blows me off and I'm just like, I gotta get him back, I gotta text him, I gotta let him know how much. That's what I used to do with guys. Be like, if I just let this guy know how much I like him, then he'll want to see me. And I kept thinking, where does that come from? That is such a weird thing to think. And now I know that's the little child part. That's what little kids do. My parent abandoned me. I gotta seek that reattachment. Okay? That's an attraction of deprivation. The wise adult doesn't grasp at things. The wise adult would say, this person's unavailable. I'm just not interested. This isn't for me. So it's just to kind of realize. And in attractions of inspiration, it's just easy to be with people. It's easy to be with people. There's no stress involved. I mean, even with some of my friends, I might have like a little disagreement or this or that, but I value the friendship and we always reunite. It's not stressful. The little things are growing opportunities for me. I don't feel abandoned or whatever. So it's just our bodies are giving us information about our feelings, but I think our bodies are also energy, and they're particles, and I think we can pick up on what other people are energetically doing to us, like abandoning us. I've even had things happen where, have you ever had things happen where you're thinking of someone, then they call you? That really can happen. We're connected in deeper ways than we know, and I think we're not always tuned into it, because if I'm just in my head from here up and thinking and working and reading and watching videos, if I'm not embodied, I don't pick up on that stuff. So I'm not saying that we can channel other beings and stuff. I don't know, maybe some people can. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, picking up on energies. They're here, I think we can just pick up on them. So that's kind of what I want to cultivate more in myself, is just being with myself, being with my feelings, noticing when they're telling me something, trusting them, and not necessarily going to other people to ask what they think, because they don't know what's right for me. They don't know what's right for me. They're not maybe as embodied as I'm trying to be. Maybe they're not even aware of their own needs. So I'm asking people for advice who are not even in tune with their own needs. One more thing I want to say about anger. I'm very comfortable with my anger, but a lot of people are not comfortable with their anger. So they talk themselves out of it and they suppress it. Anger is safe. Anger is just a quick feeling that's like, you violated a boundary, back off. It's very different from resentment, or rage. Rage is lashing out at other people in a violent way, like starting to yell or scream or hit someone. That's very dysfunctional. People who struggle with that need to get help. And resentment isn't good. Resentment is if you haven't expressed your anger and you are just doing something that's violating your own boundaries. You're letting your boundaries be violated and you're not speaking up. That's resentment. It's just festering and festering. If you're resentful of someone, it's probably because you haven't spoken up against a boundary violation. You're saying yes to things that your body is a no to. It's going to be resentful. Anger is very quick. You know, I asked you not to text me and you're texting me, so no, fuck off. That's okay. And I listened to my friend who's like, that was reactive. No, it wasn't. It was healthy anger. Healthy anger is very important because that's how we know that our boundaries are being violated. Anger is very important. It protects us. Now, there's certain times people get angry, like, you know, if I'm driving, I let people in if they have their blinker. But when they just cut in, I'm kind of annoyed because it was rude. But I let them. So I just let it go. I don't want to cause a fuss. But my body's like, no, that was shitty, you know. I'm a very considerate driver. Like, if I know a lane is ending, I'll get in way early. I won't wait till like the last second to slide in like some people do. Some people will just slide in at the last second. I don't do that. I try to be very considerate. And I don't like it to let people in at the very last second because it's just rude. So that's healthy anger. I let them in because, I mean, I don't want to cause drama, but I think just start being aware, you know. I'm going to just also start being aware when I feel angry. Because when I feel angry, it's because someone's violated a boundary. So, like, you know, fuck you. Get lost. That was lame. I try to be in my business. I try to be actually more polite about it. But if I'm angry, there's a reason. And suppressing anger is not good. My ex-husband suppressed his anger. Every time he was mad at me, he would suppress it. I have other friends like that. They're not okay with anger. They're like, okay, I'm going to be logical. I shouldn't feel this way. There's no reason to feel this way. You know, Byron Katie's work or letting it go. And that's not real. That's not being embodied. That's not honoring ourselves. That is suppressing feelings, but they don't go away. See, when feelings are suppressed, they don't go away. They're still in there, causing a lot of fucking chaos. And that's how people get sick. It's stored in our organs, like this energy, you know, it's in our bodies. You can just let it go by talking about it or making sounds or moving. It's got to come out. Emotions are in the body. Thoughts are in the head. Emotions are in the body. Thoughts can cause emotions. Emotions can cause thoughts. You know, they're all connected. And I think a lot of people have trouble with vulnerability, including telling you I'm hurt or whatever, or even just being angry. It's okay to be angry, you guys. A lot of people were punished as kids for being angry. They weren't allowed to be angry. Or their parents didn't feel comfortable with anger, so they never saw that anger was a feeling that was okay to have. I always tell my kids anger is okay. Like, I have a little grandchild, and if my little grandchild is upset, I'll be, like, no, you can't have the ice cream. My little grandchild is upset. I'm like, it's okay, you can be mad at me. I can see you're mad. It's okay that you're mad at me. And reflecting, this is anger, this is what you feel, giving it a name. It's okay. I can handle your anger. I'm very calm. It's safe. And then also, as soon as that feeling is acknowledged, the child's like already laughing and running off. It's very important to teach kids, it's okay that you're mad at me. Why wouldn't you be? I told you you couldn't watch TV. Of course you're pissed off. I'm very comfortable with my anger, and the problem is when I'm around people who tell me I shouldn't feel angry, and I'm reactive and I listen to them. So I'm just going to be very careful who I tell what to, because I can be influenced by people trying to push down my feelings. And right now what I'm working on is tuning into them, because they're very good guides. They're the best guides of all. And they were shut off by our parents because not everybody knew how to let their kids be with their feelings. So I'm waking that up. It's a superpower. Our feelings are a superpower. I'm waking that back up. I'm learning to listen to it. And then also that's making me realize some of these feelings that come up are also intuition. So that's what I'm playing around with while I'm checking out all the people walking around on this beautiful morning. It's overcast this morning in San Diego, which is great, because right now we're in the 3-month fire season of hot, dry air that's coming in off the desert. This is the time of year I hate the most. Very hot, dry air. Thanksgiving is dry and hot. It's miserable. Christmas, New Year's, they're always dry and hot. Like super dry, like people's skin is just hot and often windy. I don't like hot, dry, windy air, and it goes on for months. And then January through June is the best time of year. Actually, it starts in like March. It gets nice and cool. It's beautiful weather through August, and then we get the humidity and the heat. So I just stay inside with my air conditioning on, because I just like to pamper myself. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'd be interested if any of you would like to share your comments about what you've done to cultivate getting unhealthy people out of your life, if you feel compelled to work on or run after or make work relationships with people who make you feel deprived, if you are in touch with your feelings and they're giving you messages, or your intuition, how you feel about your anger, any of that, anything you want to share, please leave your comments. And thank you so much for watching my video.